Schmidt, is there one that comes to mind where, because when I think of underrated fighters, I think of Ron Hextall charging Felix Potvin, grabs him, and then Felix goes to work on him against one of the goats of goalie fighting. Is there somebody that comes to mind where they shocked you? You're like, wow, I didn't realize this guy was that skilled or that guy was this good.
Guys that I have fought,
Yeah.
oh man, the list is miles long of guys I underestimated in my career for sure. I was in Tulsa in the old Central League, and we were in Wichita, and they had a guy like we were killing a 5-on-3. I'll never forget this because it was early in the game and it was early in the season in Wichita. This is 20 years ago. And this guy was about 5'5", 160 pounds. And we were killing a 5-on-3, and they scored, and he skated by our goalie and said something to him. And I like two-handed him as hard as I could in the back of the legs, and like thinking that somebody big is going to jump me. And this little guy turns around, sheds his mitts, and tracks me. And I woke up to our trainer standing over top me. Like he T-Rexed me straight. I guess the video is somewhere out there. And like I'm laying there like this. And this guy came up to me about here. And like my pinky has more meat on it than him, you know?
I'll be honest with you. I love the fact that, I mean, if you talk to a regular standard guy who's gone on and played pro hockey and maybe had a handful of fights in his career, he always talks about the wins. He just talks about the wins, doesn't talk about any of the losses, and every fight he had was a win. But I love the fact that when you get enough fights in your career, you're more than happy to talk about the ones where you maybe took an L, and because it comes with a good story.
Yeah, and in anything, even in life, I think our losses teach us more. And like especially as a fighter, sometimes a lot, like if you don't take something from a loss, then you probably should stop doing what you're doing. But yeah, I've learned way more in my losses. And sometimes you get on a bit of a roll and you get some confidence under your belt, and you might not take a fight seriously, and you get caught or you get hurt, and the older I get and the more experience I get, the more I realize that on any given day, anybody can beat anybody, like obviously there's guys that the odds are stacked in their favor, but it just takes the right punch or, just sometimes stylistically you don't match up with guys. There could be a million factors, but yeah, if you haven't lost, if a guy tells you he's never lost a fight, he probably doesn't have that many fights.
You're right.
One that comes to mind for me, Schmidt, is Alex Basey, one of the tougher guys in the Fed, at least in the time that I was in. I remember when we went to Delaware, this guy went to work. Like Elias Thompson can squat 500 pounds, bench press 300. Like he's in great shape. But Basey just made him look like he was fighting a gazelle. And I remember when I spent 3 hours playing in Mississippi before they traded me again, we were playing, I think it was Columbus. Yeah, it must have been Columbus because Basey was on Columbus at the time. And then Lucas Helen and him wanted to go at it. And I remember Basey was staring at our bench, licking his lips with this light up look on his face of, I'm going to put this kid to work. And Lucas KO'd the guy. And we couldn't believe it. Here's this big monster with this 160-pound kid and just speed bagged him. And I think Lucas is actually doing MMA stuff now, or Muay Thai now, spun off that confidence from that. So,
yeah, actually, to go back to my list of guys on my Mount Rushmore base, and it's funny because he's one of my best friends now. We live together in Watertown, but he was a really, really tough guy too. He broke my ribs with a body shot one time. I mean, he's a monster of a man. But yeah, Alex Basey was a really tough guy too. There's so many, those years, my early years in the Fed, there were a lot more. But now I can count on one hand the tough guys in that league. I think this year, I played 20 games or something, and I think I had maybe 4 fights. And I don't think I even squared off a single time. A kid's first pro game in Danbury. He was trying to make a name for himself a little bit. And like obviously he wanted to impress AJ Galante, and he was chasing me around all night asking me to go. I was like, off, man, like I'm really tired tonight. And he just kept pestering me, big tall kid. And this is when I went back to Watertown. And finally the game was out of hand. They were up 9-5 or something was. And coach, he goes, all right, Schmitty, like it was the last media timeout. And he's like, do you want to like teach this kid a lesson kind of thing? And you can finally have him. I was like, yeah, okay, let's have it. And I actually liked the kid, you know, he's respectful enough, but I think the adrenaline or the excitement of the moment, he got a little bit worked up. And he was tall, he's probably 6'4", and I'm only 5'10". And he had me strung out, and he hadn't thrown a punch yet, and he like tried to like fire up the crowd. And I was like, you little shit, not tonight. I kind of let him have it. And then I got carried away. Like I buckled his knees, and then I kind of got a little bit carried away, but you know, I wasn't that stuff really, really aggravates me. You know, even like I love Amesy to death. He's one of my closest friends. I can call him on any day of the week, and you know, he can, you know, share in a good moment with me and or pull me out of a bad situation. You know, I have that much respect, and we have such a close friendship. But you know, I think he's kind of like I don't know what the word, like copy, like firing up the crowd, and like that's his personality. And I mean, Dan Amesbury has probably earned the right to do that. But you see these kids now, they're fucking pro fighting, they're doing it. And I'm like, relax, man. You know, I've the only one time I ever did something, and I'll never, ever, I don't care the significance of the moment. I'll never showboat after a fight. But it was my rookie season in Huntsville in the Southern League. And Knoxville's tough guy was Dave Siegel. I don't know if you remember him. A tough guy. He was my roommate in junior. So he was Knoxville's heavyweight. I was one of the heavyweights in Huntsville, and it was our military appreciation night in Huntsville, Alabama. You know, so the rink's sold out, and Siegs and I square off and have a great one, and I catch him right at the end. And there's all the military in their camo in the section, and I do a salute. And you know, the top blows off the rink, and everybody thinks it's cool. And I get to the penalty box. The very next night in Knoxville is their military night, and Siegs absolutely like pistol whips me, like leaves me in a puddle of blood at center ice, and he buries his head and skates off. And I was like, okay, yeah, you're way cooler than me.
So if you enjoyed what you just saw, we do new clips every single day, twice a day on the Clips channel. You see clips right here. And beside Dave's crotch, we have a full-length show every single Sunday, right by my hand.
Click right here.